break right now coming in. India has downgraded diplomatic ties with Canada. India has withdrawn High Commissioner from Canada, declaring the Indian High Commissioner and other diplomats as persons of interest in Niger Killing Probe. This is huge, viewers. India has called Canada's charge deliberate smear campaign, no faith in Trudeau's government. This is huge where India's diplomatic relationship with Canada is concerned, which was already teetering at the edges earlier. And the latest that is coming in right now is that India has downgraded diplomatic ties with Canada. India has withdrawn the High Commissioner from Canada, declaring the Indian High Commissioner and other diplomats as persons of interest by Canada in the Niger Killing Probe. India has called Canada's charge deliberate smear campaign. No faith in Trudeau's government. It's gloves off, viewers. Listen into the reactions coming in.
Has done what India has been asking for. Canada has provided credible, irrefutable evidence of ties between agents of the government of India and a murder of a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil. Now it is time for India to live up to what it said it would do and look into those allegations. It is in the interest of both our countries and the peoples of our countries to get to the bottom of this. Canada stands ready to cooperate with India.
It's huge, viewers. A massive escalation where the diplomatic relationship between India and Canada was concerned. Now, all of this surrounding the 2023 murder of Niger that had already crashed the diplomatic ties between New Delhi and Ottawa. And the latest that is coming in right now is a direct charge by Canada declaring the Indian High Commissioner and other diplomats as person of interest in Niger killing. Now, off the back of that, India has in fact downgraded diplomatic ties with Canada. India has withdrawn the High Commissioner status from Canada and has gone ahead and made it very clear. It's an official statement coming in from India where India said that India has no faith in the Canadian government headed by Mr. Trudeau. This is huge, viewers, when it comes down to it. I'm going to cut across to Shashank Mattu, who's joining us for more details on the phone line. Shashank, what more can you add?
No, absolutely. This is just a massive story. India does not withdraw its High Commissioners with ease, only at times with great diplomatic tensions. I can only personally think of sometimes back in the 1970s when India has done this to express its extreme displeasure with particular countries. And this is truly an unprecedented step that India has taken to withdraw its High Commissioner from Canada. It doesn't get bigger than this in terms of downgrading your relationship between major Western countries, summoning their charge d'affaires, and also saying that it has absolutely no faith in the ability of the Canadian government to maintain its obligations under the Vienna Convention. So very clearly the Ministry of External Affairs saying that it does not believe the Canadian government will uphold its obligations to India and to Indian diplomats. Remember, this is coming out of after weeks and months and years of India saying that its diplomats are being threatened by Khalistani groups in Canada. Their villages have been burned, they have been shot at. The Indian government has been very, very clear that they see this as a major diplomatic incident, and the Canadian government has not done what it should have to maintain their physical security and safety. And now the Indian government has taken this unprecedented step to withdraw its High Commissioner from Canada. So it does not get bigger than this in terms of a rebuke. It does not get bigger than this in terms of the downgrading of diplomatic relations with a particular country.
Shashank, just stay with me. I want to run our viewers through the backdrop of all of this, viewers. The Ministry of External Affairs of India yesterday had received a diplomatic communique from Canada suggesting that the Indian High Commissioner and other diplomats are persons of interest in a matter related to an investigation in that country. That investigation tantamounted to Niger's killing. At the back of that, India had summoned Canada's charge d'affaires in New Delhi after clearly, diplomatic relations between the two countries witnessed a new low, where Canada literally charged the Indian High Commissioner and other diplomats as possible persons of interest in the murder of, or the killing rather, of Niger. Now, India, after that meeting, has downgraded diplomatic ties. I want to bring in Shashank back into this conversation. Shashank, with the backdrop of that, what can it now to take on further? What does it actually mean when a country has downgraded diplomatic ties. India downgrading diplomatic ties with Canada. What does it translate into?
Well, effectively, it means that any hope of a political reconciliation between India and Canada are effectively dead in the water. There was some speculation. Remember that just a couple of days and weeks ago, we had Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and Prime Minister Narendra Modi meet on the sidelines of the ASEAN-India Forum, and there was some conversation about perhaps some sort of rapprochement between those two countries. This is effectively meet that dead in the water. It seems very, very clearly that what the statements that you have seen from India coming out today have directly targeted Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and have said that we have no faith in Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government. That is very, very rare. You do not see the Indian Foreign Ministry directly target a serving leader of a foreign country and say we have no faith in this particular individual. Generally, India tries its best to maintain good relations with all sides of the political divide, but it's making very clear we do not trust Justin Trudeau and his Liberal government in Canada because of its ties to Khalistanis. And until really sending the signal that until the Liberal government remains in power in Canada, any hopes of a political reconciliation between India and Canada is effectively dead in the water. It is not going to be possible because it has no trust. And I'm again citing what the Ministry of External Affairs has said, something extraordinary, that it has no trust in the Canadian government's ability to maintain the security of its diplomats.
Shashank, exactly, that's what I'm touching upon. No trust in the Trudeau-led Canadian government. I would think that has been one of the strongest diplomatic statements India has ever made in the recent past, when you look at it where a country is concerned. A clear new law where the diplomatic relationships with Canada means what does the spin-off of downgrading diplomatic ties mean for a lot of people who do business with Canada, where India does business with Canada? There are visas at play. What does it actually mean? Does it have any bearings on any of that? There are a lot of students who are studying in Canada.
Let me spin out some of the complications for you. For example, one of the big problems that has come into place in the India-Canada relationship because of this tension over the Hardeep Singh Nijjar case is that conversations on an India-Canada FTA have stalled completely. There were some conversations of perhaps restarting those because of the benefits to both sides. That is again dead in the water. It has been stalled for about a year or so, and it is likely to remain stalled. So if you're doing business and you want more access to the Canadian market and the Canadian businesses want more access to the Indian market, you can forget about it because that seems very, very difficult at this point in time. And of course, the Canadian, one of the major arguments that was made when the Canadian diplomats were withdrawn from India, you will remember just when the first diplomatic confrontation over this broke out in 2023, dozens of Canadian diplomats were withdrawn from India, and that made processing visas for Indian students going to Canada harder. That was the argument the Canadians were making. This will make it harder for us to operate our consulates, get Indian visas to come to Canada. You can expect that that is also going to get much more difficult. There are also conversations on defense and greater cooperation in the Indo-Pacific, and defense requires strategic trust between two countries. That is again not going to be a possibility. So you're seeing time and time again that there were conversations between officials and diplomats, meetings between Dr. Jaishankar and his counterparts in Canada, the Canadian Foreign Minister. So you can expect that that strategic cooperation on defense, that cooperation on economics and trade and the free trade agreement, as well as on visas and education. Remember that the Canadian government has introduced restrictions on foreign students coming into India. You can expect that India pushing its position on this and making sure that students are taken care of, that is going to perhaps get also a little more complicated, a little more difficult when you have such massive tensions between India and the government of Justin Trudeau in Canada.
You know, Shashank, you've detailed what the complications could really mean, but diplomatically, nothing stands in isolation, Shashank. There is going to be fallout of this diplomatically on a larger, scale. And if you go macro in terms of world politics, because now there will be countries which possibly would be pushed to take sides. How do you see this play out?
This has absolutely been a concern since day one, since Justin Trudeau stood up in September 2023 in the Canadian House of Commons and said that his government suspected that India's government was involved in the assassination of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. We have always had this question, what side will Western governments take? Because you would remember that it is suspected that it was the American intelligence agencies that gave Canada the intelligence that they needed to make this assertion that India was somehow involved in this assassination. But what you have seen since then is you have countries release boilerplate statements saying that, look, we want India to cooperate with Canada, we want the two countries to work together bilaterally to figure this situation out. But beyond that, you have really had no other diplomatic blowback and repercussions. Our relationship with the United States of America, with the Australians, with other countries that form a very, very tight-knit security alliance with with the Canadians have really not taken a much larger stand. They have offered to stay away from it because, as far as they are concerned, India is their big strategic pivot into Asia, their big anchor in the Indo-Pacific, their big anchor against China, as well as a major trading relationship. They are not going to throw that away because of a bilateral problem between India and Canada. Countries are very clear-eyed about their interests, and they made very clear that they are not going to take sides between India and Canada. So if Canada was expecting some level of diplomatic support from its Western allies, the most they will get is a sympathetic nod. But beyond that, there is going to be no effect, as far as I can tell, on India's relationship with its major Western counterparts. If Canada was expecting diplomatic support from Western countries, it is unlikely to get it on this issue.
Shashank, that's where world politics is concerned. You detailed that with us. But also somewhere down the line, it's not just, not getting support from its Western allies where Canada is concerned. You have a man like Justin Trudeau who politically right now, with his back towards the wall, there's a lot going on in his own country, where his own politics is concerned. Do you see this as well, a fallout of that and a reactionary, a reaction to that?
This is absolutely a topic of conversation right now in Canada. As you mentioned very rightly, Justin Trudeau is flagging in every single poll. He is widely expected to be drubbed and defeated by the opposition Conservative Party in the upcoming elections. He's also expected, you would recall, to testify at a major foreign interference commission in the recent weeks ahead. So this could also be a political ploy at home to show that he is strong on a key issue of national security. We would also remember that his government largely survives with the support of the New Democratic Party, the NDP, whose leader Jagmeet Singh has been associated with pro-Khalistan causes as well. So you will see that there is an incentive for the Canadian Prime Minister to seem strong on this issue. So definitely there is some issue, there is a point of domestic politics. He needs to appear strong when on every single issue of domestic politics, whether it's the economy, whether it's housing costs. He is increasingly seen as weak and ineffectual by his own party. There has been pressure on him to step down. From India's perspective, the big silver lining in this is likely to be that no matter what his government does, it is likely to lose the upcoming Canadian general election to the Conservatives who in the past have been much stronger on the relationship with India. Really, our relationship with Canada began to go down once the Liberal Party came into power, given its sympathies and its links to particular Khalistani groups, which the Conservatives have in the past been unwilling to tolerate. So from India's perspective, the silver lining will be that Justin Trudeau is desperate domestically. He is unlikely to be able to reverse the domestic political tide. And so it seems that his political future is increasingly bleak. So India can at least hope for that this India's relationship with Canada will change once Trudeau's Liberal government loses in the elections that are scheduled for 2025.
That is what's expected. Shashank, appreciate you joining us and explaining the various facets of what has really gone down, because what has really gone down very unexpected. This is huge. To detail it for our viewers, India has downgraded diplomatic ties with Canada. It has withdrawn the High Commission from Canada. All of this at the back of Canada declaring the Indian High Commissioner and other diplomats as persons of interest in the Niger Killing Probe. India has called out Canada and suggesting that, saying it quite clearly, that India has no faith in the Trudeau-led government. Listen in to this reaction of Canada coming out after a meeting with India. Listen in.
The government of Canada has done what India has been asking for. Canada has provided credible, irrefutable evidence of ties between agents of the government of India and a murder of a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil. Now it is time for India to live up to what it said it would do and look into those allegations. It is in the interest of both our countries and the peoples of our countries to get to the bottom of this. Canada stands ready to cooperate with India.
All right, let's quickly cut across right now to my colleague Shiv Arur, who's joining us with more details there. Shiv, it's never quite happened that in recent public memory where diplomatic affairs are concerned, India downgrading diplomatic ties with Canada, multiple facets to it. How do you read the developments?
Very big move, as you rightly said, Preeti, because for starters, Canada actually happens to have one of the largest expat populations of people either Indian nationals or Indians of people of Indian origin. Nearly 2 million people of that mix currently reside there. The number of students from India who study in Canada currently is roughly 310 to 320,000, though that number has come down since the diplomatic fracas that erupted last year over the Niger killing. The trade between India and Canada is also has been on an upswing. So this is a huge move that India has taken. Downgrading of diplomatic ties is not a move that can be taken lightly, especially when you have a large base to cater for and support in a country as large as Canada. And therefore, we're going to have to see what the repercussions are of this.
Well, you're right there, and there are going to be far-reaching repercussions there because it's not just going to end at downgrading diplomatic ties. It's about business between the two countries. It's about visas that are stuck. It's about student visas and students that we have there. And of course, Shiv also detailed the number of Indians that reside in Canada. We're going to keep a keen eye on all developments. Thank you for joining us.